So, you all seemed to quite enjoy the casual nature of my last book haul, so we're replicating that. This is very chill. I've acquired, as per usual, way too many books. I now have approximately 85 books on my physical TBR. I started off the year with 69 books on my physical TBR, and I wanted to get that number down this year. I have read 85 books as well, not all of them ones that I own. Sometimes I listen to audiobooks of books that I don't own physical copies of, but I think because I keep a reading journal, I write down all the books that are on my physical TBR, and I just added it up, and I think that I've acquired something like 83 books this year. So I do have a few books on pre-order, but I'm making a promise to myself right now that I'm not going to be buying any more books for a while. So there'll probably still be a book haul towards the end of July of things that I've pre-ordered that are coming out sort of early July, but I discussed this with my sister and we think that it's sensible for me to read 20 books before I allow myself to buy any more. Now, historically, book buying bans haven't worked very well for me and I tend to rebel against them. So we'll see how this goes. But I'm going to give it a go. Wish me luck. For now though, I have a lot of books to show you. The vast majority of these are by black authors or authors of colour, because I have recognised that my shelves are lacking diversity in that way. So a lot of these books fall into those categories. These are all fiction books. I prefer to read non-fiction through audiobook, and I don't haul audiobooks. Maybe I should, but I just don't. Mostly because I don't necessarily keep track of those in the same way as I do with my physical books. If you'd be interested in me hauling audiobooks as well, let me know, but I use Audible and I use Scribd or Scribd, whichever, so I think that would be quite difficult, but you know, let me know what you think. Otherwise you will hear about them in my wrap-ups and stuff. So anyway, there are a lot of books here. Let's get into it. So my current read actually is Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. This is a contemporary but with sci-fi elements. There's some time travel in here and we're following two characters, Jack and Kate. It's all told from Jack's perspective, but Jack and Kate meet at a party, they fall in love, and then Kate dies. And then I think that Jack ends up in this sort of like time loop trying to save her life, but none of that has really been explained yet. I am currently 106 pages into this one. I am reading and listening to it, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Then we have The King of Atolia by Megan Wallen Turner. This is book 3 in the Queen's Thief series. I actually ordered this one from Waterstones way back in March, and it was always showing as processing. And I wasn't too worried about it because clearly I have plenty of books to read, but I eventually emailed Waterstones about it and was like, what's going on? And then I waited a few weeks for them to respond to that email, and they said, yep, don't know what's happened here, don't know why you were even able to purchase it, because we don't actually have it in stock and our stockists don't have it in stock, so we're going to have to cancel the order. So I ended up then reordering it on Amazon, because that's the only other place that stocks this particular series, which I don't understand. Anyway, this is a series I'm really enjoying. It follows a thief in a fantastical world. Then I got Pet by Akwaeke Ameze, which I actually read yesterday. This is quite a short book. It's about 203 pages. I also listened to the audiobook of this while following it along, and I really enjoyed reading it that way. This, I did a kind of a review of this one on my Instagram, so do feel free to head over there to see my slightly more considered thoughts on this. It's possibly urban fantasy, possibly magical realism, possibly just contemporary. I think it really depends on how you interpret what happens in here, but we follow a character named Jam who is trans and non-verbal, which means that she can speak but she prefers not to, and she encounters a creature who wants her help to hunt a monster in a world where the angels have already defeated all of the monsters, and it kind of poses the question, what is an angel? What is a monster? We kind of explore that. It's told in a very contemporary style, so whether you interpret it as being fantasy or magical realism or plain contemporary, the style is very contemporary writing. So I don't want to say too much more really, because it's a very short book, but I really enjoyed it. Since my last haul, I have received a couple of fairy loot boxes, so I'm just going to mention those two books here. So we have Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova, which follows a character who is spying on the royal court, essentially. And then we have Girl Serpent Thorn by Melissa Bashadust, which follows a character who is poisonous to the touch. And I think this is slightly romance. There might be some romance in here as well. Then one of my very kind and lovely subscribers, friends, book club members, Deborah, sent me The Lost Queen by Signe Pike. Thank you so much again, Deborah. This was so incredibly kind of you. Deborah, loves historical fiction, and she knows that that's a little bit of a tricky genre for me, but one that I am trying to make an effort to read more of, and this is one of her favourites. It follows a character named Langoreth, and Langoreth is the sister of Merlin, so this is kind of like an Arthurian legend type story, but from the perspective of Merlin's sister rather than from the perspective of either Merlin or Arthur, which is really different. And I don't read a lot of Arthurian legend retellings really, but I've started this already. I am on I'm on chapter 7, which is page 66, and I am reading and listening to this one as well. I had started this and then I did my reading challenge, and so I'm planning to read the rest of this as part of the Hogsmeade readathon, as part of G's magical readathon, although that's not really properly happening anymore. I'd already planned to read this as that TBR, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish this next week. But I really, so far, am enjoying the narrative style, and I'm liking the fantastical elements, which, as Deborah knows, is something that makes historical fiction easier for me to enjoy. So again, thanks so much, Deborah. Really appreciate it. Speaking of my reading challenge, I'm just going to quickly run through the books that I hauled for that. I'm not going to talk about them because if you want any information on them, you can go and watch that extremely long vlog. So we have Cursed, an anthology by various authors. We have Hearts Are Jerks by Gabrielle Harbury. We have The Sound of Stars by Alicia Dow. We have Elysium Girls by Kate Pentecost, and The Mermaid, the Witch and the Sea by Maggie Tokuda Hall. Next up we have this stunning Waterstones exclusive edition of The Court of Miracles by Kester Grant. This has blue sprayed edges, really pretty end papers, and a beautiful hidden cover that says "Take what you will," and this is a Les Miserables retelling, and that's all I really know about it, but I've been looking forward to this coming out for a while. This came out on Friday. Then we have Soloway by Lupita Nyong'o and Vashti Harrison, which is a children's picture book about a character named Soloway who, what does it say? It says Solway has skin the colour of midnight, and essentially this is a children's picture book that explores colorism. But I've just heard that this story is really touching and powerful, and that the artwork is really, really pretty, and I quite like reading graphic novels and children's picture books. I find them not surprisingly powerful, because I'm not surprised by it, but the mixture of image and written word is just really, really lovely, and I've seen this one recommended quite a lot, so I wanted to pick it up, and I am going to be reading it this week. Also, how absolutely gorgeous is Lupita? She's just stunning. Okay, next, my lovely sister sent me a couple of books. So we have The Hate You Give and On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, which are books that I have been wanting to pick up and read for ages. Just like everything else in the world, my digital TBR is even more out of control than my physical one, but she picked these up for me, and I'm super, super grateful and really looking forward to reading them. If you don't know what these are about, which I find hard to believe, but in case you don't, this one follows Star, who, well, I'll just read you the blurbs actually. Star lives in two worlds: the poor neighbourhood where she was born and raised, and her posh high school in the suburbs. The uneasy balance between them is shattered when Star is the only witness to the fatal shooting of her unarmed best friend Khalil by a police officer. Now what Star says could destroy her community, it could also get her killed. So that's The Hate You Give, and yeah, there's a film out for this one already, and I think that there's a film coming for this one, but it isn't out yet. So On the Come Up is about 16-year-old Brie wants to be one of the greatest rappers of all time. It's hard to get your come up though when you're labelled trouble at school and your fridge at home is empty after your mum loses her job. But Brie's success is all that stands between her family and homelessness. So she doesn't just want to make it, she has to, even if it means becoming exactly what the public expects her to be. And I believe that there are actually sections of rap in this particular book, so I will probably try to listen to the audiobook for this one as well, although to be fair, I tend to try to listen and follow as much as I possibly can. Anyway, next up we have Rose Interrupted by Patrice Lawrence. I've read one other book by Patrice, which was Indigo Donut, and that was also contemporary like this one, and it was incredibly powerful and quite difficult to read, and I think that this is going to be a similar kind of thing. This is contemporary as well, and it predominantly follows Rose but also her brother Rudder, and they have escaped from a strict religious sect back into society and are adapting to that potentially not very well. Then we have another book by an author that I've already read a book by. This is Summer Bird Blue by Akemi Dawn Bowman, I've read Starfish by her, absolutely loved it. I also met her at Yalc last year and she is just such a lovely person. This one is about a character named Rumi. She has anxiety and then she loses her sister in a car crash, and so now she's also struggling with grief. And Starfish dealt with anxiety as well, and it also dealt with abuse and bad relationships with parental figures and trauma, and it was just really powerful. And I think that Ekemi has a really fantastic way of exploring mental illness, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Next up we have Slay by Brittany Morris, which is, I think it's going to probably be told in a sort of contemporary style, but it's kind of sci-fi because it's about a video game, and it's a video game that has been created by and for black people, and then there's like this accusation of reverse racism around the video game, in that white people start saying that it's excluding white people and also it's incredibly aggressive. So this will of course explore racism, but in a sort of sci-fi tech type context, and the sound of the plot really reminds me of Warcross by Marie Lu, which I read earlier this year and thoroughly enjoyed, so I'm really looking forward to getting to this one. And then finally, the final book on this haul, massive haul, is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, which is the first book in an epic fantasy series, which means that I have absolutely no idea what it's about, other than the fact that I'm presuming it has dragons in it. You never really know what an epic fantasy series is about until you're in it, and then it's very difficult to explain what it's about. But if you know anything about me, you know that I love epic fantasy, so I'm really looking forward to getting to this one. I think it might be African inspired as well. Oh, this was originally self-published. I didn't know that. That's cool. I like that. So yeah, that's it. Those are all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 books that I have acquired in the month of June. I almost wish I'd made it 20 now, really, but let's not go there. Anyway, those are the books that I acquired in the month of June. Hopefully you won't see me with another giant haul for quite a while. Again, wish me luck. I'm really looking forward to reading each and every one of these books. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks. Bye.